Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Real 1% podcast. I'm your host, Michael D. It's the Mike and Mike show tonight. So, my man, Michael Meyers, is the MBA Military Basketball Association commissioner. He's the David Stern, the Adam Silver of the military world. He has over 20 years of service in the Army. You shout out to the Army. He's out in Fort Carson right now, living it up in Colorado Springs. He has over 15,000 hours of volunteer service in the coaching space. Like I said, he's a combat veteran. He joined back in the early years of 2000 now, aging ourselves as we speak. And his first MOS was a 75 Bravo 10 as a human resource specialist. He said, the heck with this. In 2005, he said he was going the ROTC route to commission as a second lieutenant in the quartermaster corps. You know, that's how we do. Quartermaster leads the way. In 2006, Mike deployed to Iraq, like most of us that were in during that time frame, and Operation in Iraqi Freedom during the surge. So we'll have to have some discussion about that. And he was actually medically evacuated in 2007 and now uses basketball to stay resilient, build mental fitness, and to actually put the spotlight on the real heroes of this country. As he said before we got on the call, is the people that serve. So without further ado, Big Mike, man, how you living today?
Oh man, I'm great, and thank you, Mike, for putting this together, and allow me to come on and talk to you and the rest of the world about why we serve and why team sports is going to save lives in the future.
Absolutely, man. So let's dive right into it. So a little bit about yourself. I know you said you're from Maryland, so why did you join the military? Was it something that you sought out to do, or did something just roll into your plate as you're going through school? What's your story start off like?
It's great. It's Black History Month. This month I saw a movie a few years back. Two motivating factors for me joining the service. One, when I was a kid, I used to watch Star Trek with my dad, and I love Captain Kirk, so I'm a Trekkie. The second, movie that I watched, which was great, was a Soldier Story. And if you haven't seen that, it's a great film. There's a lot of early young all-star cast people, actors, but the captain JAG officer that was in that movie inspired me because he was a captain, he was an officer. So I'd always had this, calling to kind of serve, in the military and in the army. And so I enlisted. It was one of those things. I'm one of those guys who came in before 9/11. So there was no, I actually had a real calling to serve. No a single event happened to make me want to serve my country. I actually just literally, enlisted in 2000. Actually, 99, I enlisted and went to basic in 2000. So it was a great experience. But I've always just had this drive to want to serve and also to want to lead.
Okay.
And so it's been a journey. I retired about 9 months ago, and I have no regrets for my service to this country and to the United States Army.
Okay. So you get through basic training, you go through AIT, and pretty much right after that, it seemed like 9/11 happened. So you're probably at your first duty station. I'm assuming what was going through your mind when that event took place? Because you're pretty much 1 year in the military at that point.
At that point, you're absolutely right. So 2001, 9/11 happens. I can remember it clear as day. I'm stationed. First assignment was Fort Hood. And I was living in Hartford Heights, and it took 4 hours to get into the gate at Fort Hood. To get off of 190 to get into Fort Hood, Texas, to get on the base, or Fort Cavazos now, it was about 4 to 5 hours. And we got a call, and the call said, "Hey, bring all your gear, bring everything into the company. We're gonna send you home." And so I take that. 9/11 was very emotional, a scary time because you didn't never know what was going to happen. But for me, it was still service. And then I was just a little PFC. I had my little issues as a junior enlisted person, but I fought through them. I got through them, and I was able to go on, and I at that point, in about 2002, I had decided, I really need to hurry up and switch over and become an officer, because it was my time and I wanted to lead. I'd done about 33 months on the enlisted side of the house, and so I put my packet in to become an officer. And I was laughed at. People laughed at me. Didn't really think that I could, I would do it. I didn't even think I could do it. I just saw it as a means of moving on. I'd already had some college before I had joined. So, you know, 3 years later, I left 19 Cav, which is a traditional, Buffalo Soldiers unit, um, and, you know, went to school, learned how to become an officer. A lot of people don't know how to do that. You see a lot of folks that are enlisted and they have college and they want to jump and become an officer. So they go to OCS and they do 13 or 14 weeks there. And when they come on to active duty side, it's a different mindset. You literally need to learn how to be an officer. There's a reason why West Point guys go and they're there for 4 years. If you try to kind of condense it all into 13 or 14 weeks, it can be a little challenging when you actually get on active duty. I had my challenges, but I learned from my ROTC professor of military science, and I became, I literally loved being an officer. Every moment that I spent, and I learned a lot. I was that lieutenant who did, I did a lot of, there are a lot of things I could use of, well, I'm just a second lieutenant. I could use that excuse, but so far. But I also loved getting the respect for the guys that I I was their LT, I was their platoon leader. And I had challenges where, I would, people would ask me, hey, are you taking care of your troops? And there was nobody that ever I served with. There may be people, people have opinions, but for the most part, everyone I served with, um, they respected me and they knew that I was going to take care of them. I was a person of my word. So, but yeah, my deployment, so 2005, I'm a second lieutenant, and I found out what my branch was going to be earlier that year. It was like, okay, in 2004, about 6 months before, like, yeah, you're going to be a quartermaster. I was like, oh, great. I'm in the rear with the gear. You know,
Yeah, that's what you're
I
thinking.
yeah, I'm in the rear with the gear. I'm going to be handing out MREs. I'm going to be overseeing dining facilities. And so I was playing basketball at the college, about 5 months before I commissioned. And I ran into this quartermaster E7. And I was like, man, this is great. He was like, no, it's not. Like, what? He's like, yeah, he's like, quartermaster, they they do they're on convoys. It's like, what? Convoys?
Log pack, yeah.
Yeah, log packs, clips, combat logistics patrols, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I was like, what is that? They were like, man, they were like, we're the ones on the front pushing supplies, and we get hit like every day. And I was like, hit with what? And they
Yeah.
were like, IEDs. And I was like, what's an IED? And so
Damn.
we heard about these roadside bombs, and I was like, oh my God, right? So my whole mindset changed. It was like, I'm really going to actually probably see some action, right? Some combat. And I started getting worried. But you go to school, go to AIT or advanced course. They teach you how to do stuff, which I don't think I used any of that when I was deployed. But um, but then I get to my unit, and then that's when I really started learning from people who had actually been in Fallujah the year before. Uh, and they were like, yeah, it's like 24/7 running, log packs, running, refuel on the move ROMs, setting up ROMs for tanks and Bradley. I mean, it was like all that was what I was being trained to do. And then we deploy. And initially I was going with the BSB. I was going to go with 15th BSB Gamblers. And then they select me to do port duty. So I go and I offload all the ships. So I'm in a room. I'm the only second lieutenant in the room. Everyone else that's the OIC is a major or above. And I'm with Second Brigade. I'm with Blackjack. And they're like, all right, you've got to send out 200 pieces of rolling stock and 200 containers. And they've got to go to 8 different locations in theater. And my team was the only team to do that with 0 mistakes, no issues, no damages to any of the vehicles. So I ended up getting to my unit, the Combined Arms Battalion. Ended up getting to them about 3 or 4 weeks later in the deployment. So I get there and they're like, yeah, we're just doing, left seat, right seat. You've heard that term before,
Yeah.
right? You do the left seat, right seat. Man, it was so bad. I think some of the people that had left seat, right seat, they couldn't do a proper one because like maybe a week or two before the guy who was there was killed in action. And so there was some real tough times. And then this is crazy. I get to Iraq and I think I'm going to be doing log packs or, convoys, right? Which
Yeah.
we did, right? I did do those. But then the mission changes and we get this non-standard mission to emplace barriers, concrete blocks,
T-walls and all that stuff like that.
T-walls,
Yeah.
Alaskas,
Escos, everything.
jerseys,
Yeah.
Pescos. I had
Yeah.
the whole thing. So I become a logistician / combat engineer, right? Because I'm
Right.
putting down concertina wire and all that. So now it's totally different. And this is just how the Army works. You go learn one thing, and then by the time you know it all, the Army gives you something else to do, and it's like you don't know. And then once you master that, you master something else. So, but we did that. And shout out to the Black Knights, 1-5 Cav. We had a tough deployment. It was really tough. I think we lost 10 like in 1 month. It was tough.
Wow.
We lost 7 in 1 day. And
Jesus.
and so those are the things that like stay with me during that deployment. And it really, I know you're probably recording this, so I don't want you to bleep me, but it really messed me up,
No,
and
you good. We unfiltered, man. No bleeping. Go ahead. Let it out. You gotta say whatever
but
you gotta
but
say. We
but
good.
it did, and so there wasn't any let up. There were great times when you deploy, you lose guys, you're gonna lose people. And you look back on it and you cry and you're sad and you're depressed and then you're traumatized. And then you think back on it and you're like, oh my God, that was funny as hell. Like, this is great. Like the guys that you were with, it's one of those things where it's a camaraderie and a brotherhood and sisterhood because,
Right.
because I had women in our unit that you just never forget. But that month of May in 2007 was a tough month. And, it could have turned into a really bad situation. I talked to him. I try to keep in touch with my old battalion commander often, Colonel Keel, but I've never seen anybody use the type of tactical, he was just a great leader. And, he cared about me, but we were over there to do a job. And what he didn't do was embarrass the United States of America. He had to make some tough decisions. Even some of the things with me, he had to make tough decisions. And to this day, I felt like, you come back from deployment, you like wonder, did you do enough? And I don't know if I did. I just know that it shaped me to be the type of leader that I am. And I say all that because I thought all the things that I saw when I was deployed, I really thought that I had control, like I could manage it. And I was talking to my mother the other day, and she was like, you didn't see yourself when you came back. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, She's like, you came back and you were like on another planet. Like you didn't, you had this 1,000-yard stare, you know, you don't know what happened. And it was crazy. They almost killed me in Ramstein. So I had to take
What?
medicine. I had
Oh
to take,
man.
I had to take medicine in Ramstein, and it wasn't their fault, but they accidentally gave me. I guess the nurses didn't talk because you can't take your own medication when you're medevac, and they gave me double my medicine.
Oh.
So I was walking around in Ramstein PX. I'm like, man, this is really hard. Why is this so hard? And so I called the people because I was supposed to fly out the next day, and they were like to actually go home, to go home. And they were like, yeah, you can't. We'll send someone to come pick you up. So they come pick me up, and then they put me on the machines when they get me back to the barracks. And my heart rate was like 40, like
Whoa.
42. So they were like, we gave you too much blood pressure medication. I had a heart. That's why I got medevaced out. I had a heart issue, probably from burn pits. Who knows? But I miraculously, after having 300 PT tests and just killing it, um, I had a heart issue, and so I get back, and I think everything is good, and man, I can't even. It was hard to do anything. And when I say anything, I'm talking about when you are trying to adjust from carrying a weapon around every single day, everywhere you go, even in the shower, right? To, you know, living in your home, staying on base. And oh, by the way, at 6:30 in the morning, what does Fourth ID do? They shoot the cannon and raise the flag. So when the cannon goes off, I like roll under my bed because it's just like mortar rounds coming in.
Yeah.
So that is different. And then, but it's not mortar rounds.
Right.
And my brother's like, hey, let's go here, let's go there, and I want to do all those things, and I can't. And I try, but then I feel like the walls closing in on me. I'm like, what the heck is this? I've never had like, am I like going crazy? But it was anxiety, it was adjustment disorder, and it was post traumatic stress. So I didn't want to. I'm not crazy. I mean, 2007. I'm a first lieutenant about to make captain, and I got these issues. No one's going to put me in charge of anything, right? That's what I thought. So you
What are
don't
you
you don't
thinking?
talk
Yeah.
about it.
Right.
You're not gonna. You're not.
Exactly.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not first on. Hey, I got to take my pills, or I got to do. No one wants to talk about that thing, right? It's post traumatic stress, and and then I can't play basketball anymore, which I was pretty good at. But I can't do that anymore because I got a heart issue, and I have to have procedures done on my heart at BAMC, which is, it's your heart. So now you
Yeah.
have like all this to worry about, and then you're seeing all these faces at night, people that you used to support and they're not here anymore. They're gone. They've been killed in action, and I used to give them food.
Right.
And then at my job at the battalion I was the PAO rep for the battalion. So I had to do all the memorial DVDs and all of the things to send home to the families. And it became too much. And luckily for me, you know, I was able to, I had a strong family, you know. I love my brother because my brother would mow my lawn on base, drive my car around, take care of my house when it was gone. My parents took care of my 6-year-old daughter, 5-year-old daughter. I left her when she was 4 or 5 years old. There was a picture that the Sentinel took of her saluting her mom and myself when we left her. When we were gone for 11 months and 12 months. You leave a 4-year-old kid with my parents. My sister was very supportive. my little brother was in high school. He really didn't, he was just trying to get out. But I had a very strong sense of family. If I didn't have that, I would be one of those 22 a day. I definitely believe that. And so I did have family. I have strong faith. I believe in God. I mean, I don't know who's listening, but I do believe, that we have a creator, and so I prayed, and I just, had this spiritual connection, but it wasn't enough, right? Because I'm still seeing all these different things. So I'm still nervous. So I took my anxiety, my post-traumatic stress, and what does the Army do? Right? They promote you.
Damn, I was gonna say either take a knee and drink water and get back up and go again, or
Nah,
deploy again, or they just promote you out.
that's right. They promoted me. So I get promoted to captain, and now I'm the 3 Corps S4, right? And working for the chief of staff at the time was a guy by the name of Colonel Funk, Paul Funk,
Okay.
right? He's, retired 4-star. So I I I'm the chief of staff. I'm the S4 for him. 3 Corps got all these different things. I've got, I'm, helping property. I'm doing stuff. Then I started doing aid work for Brigadier General at the time, Vincent Brooks, right? So I started working for General Brooks, and then we're pregnant. So now I've got a daughter, a little, I've got a baby on the way. So I'm juggling all of these different things in 2008, 2009, and I just, I, it, I started taking medication. I gained weight. I stopped exercising, which is what officers can do sometimes, and for 5 years, I just did nothing, right? Um, but I started coaching basketball in 2010, 2011, and that was it. I was able to connect with other people, um, and I was able to stay connected to something that kept me grounded. And I was having an impact in other people. I was mentoring other soldiers, mentoring other NCOs and even officers about, what my experience in the Army was. At that time, I was about 10 years in the Army, so I kind of knew a little bit about what I wanted to do. And then, 2013, I was really having a hard time. I think I saw something, something happened, the anniversary of that one event, traumatic event, and I said, I got to go talk to somebody. And, you know, when you sit down and you talk to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, right? You're like, hey, I'm taking this, I'm taking that. This is what I want to do. And they're like, well, I can help you, but I don't, it just seems like it's this. And I was like, I was like, no. So I told them what was happening, right? What I was experiencing, the flashbacks I was having, the way I was feeling. And they said, look, it's still 2013, right? We're not in today's world where it's comfortable to be okay, to not be okay, right?
Yeah.
Um, she asked me very point blank. I mean, captain to captain. She was a captain too. She's a medical professional, and she said, "Look, I can help you, but I need to put this in your record. I'm a captain. I would like to make major.
Right. Yeah.
um, what does that mean? Well, you can get therapy, you can get this, you can get that. All this therapy type stuff that wasn't happening back in 2013.
No.
Therapy for what? What you need therapy for? Like, why do you need therapy? Captain Myers, you can't, keep your shit together. That's
Right.
what you need therapy for. And so I was like, let's call it what it is. You know, this is post traumatic stress disorder, whatever you want to call it. put it in my records. This is before the VA, I think, it had come out and said, hey, we are recognizing, battle scars of the mind, right? I was just, it was very, when I look back on it, it was probably one of the bravest things I would say a person can do is to acknowledge that they've got an issue and fix it. So I'm in Korea. I'm the coach at Area 4 Daegu basketball team. We win everything. We sweep the peninsula. We win everything. I come back to Fort Hood, or Fort Hood at the time, Fort Cavazos. I'm the new head coach at Fort Cavazos. I have one goal: win our conference and win a national championship. Under another system, we do it. We do it in 2015, and it's a big deal. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, who is this Coach Meyers? Who is this guy? Who's this captain?" We do it again in 2016. We win the national championship in 2016. 2017, I get selected to coach All Army women. It's like, okay, it's women's basketball. How are you going to do that? I have never failed at anything. And we win a silver medal. I took that as failure. I took that as failure. Army is gold. We win gold. That's all we do. So I'm sitting in my hotel room on the night of we lose. And, everyone's got haters. And
Absolutely.
so the haters, I had been on this run from 2013 all the way to 2017 where I'd never finished second ever in anything. If it was on television or if it was a big deal. And so I lost. And then here come my demons back. Here comes all this thoughts about this and that. And I start going through personal things in my life. Family life isn't the best. And so I come to Colorado. And I come up here and I try to bring, basketball up here. They weren't feeling it. They didn't, but I don't let that stop me. And so I get here and I probably have the hardest, and I'm a major, I'm a, battalion executive officer. And I have the hardest brigade commander ever. I had two hard ones. One in Korea who was tough, really tough. But, I earned everything I got from him, and then I come here and I get a real tough guy who tells me straight up, first, officer counseling. He's like, you're going to be my XO. And if I'll let you know when you're done, if you're going to be a battalion commander. He was like, and then he was looking at my evaluations. It's like, I'll let you know if you're going to be a lieutenant colonel. So I was like, wow. So, I took that as like, maybe you're not as good as you think you are, but I had this basketball thing and it was able to help me balance everything. And so we started the Military Basketball Association right here in Colorado Springs. And it took off like fire. We started at a high school gym in Fountain. You know where Fountain is if you've been to Colorado.
Yep.
Fountain, Fort Carson High School. The next year we went to the Air Force Academy. The next year we went to Denver. Oh, well, we had COVID, and then 2021 we went to Denver. 2022 we went back to Denver. Last year we went to Kansas, and it was on CBS Sports. And this year it's in Philadelphia, and it's on CBS Sports. And so I say all that to you and to the people that are listening that the MBA was a joke. It was like a conversation that happened between me and one of my best friends and my deputy commissioner. We were talking at like 2 a.m. about how to make, military basketball better. we weren't really thinking that we would get 32 teams, over 1,000 athletes, you know, be on 3 continents and have a monthly social media following or viewers of 30 something thousand people. We didn't think about it. A CBS Sports agreement last year, and then an agreement to put the championship game on for 3 years. We never thought about any of that, and we just kept moving, and I think that's what we're all about. Our organization is about using team sports, using basketball to connect everybody, to tell people, look, if you're experiencing something or you're going through anxiety, look, you can play sports. Let's fix you first, right? And then if we can't necessarily, like, for those 2 hours that you're playing basketball, I guarantee you're not thinking about, your deployment, the substance abuse issue you had, the thing with your wife or your spouse, the thing with your kids. You're not thinking about that. You're just playing basketball. Well, what we're doing is we're saying, look, when that's done, before you even get started, here are some other organizations and services that support what we're doing that we can connect you to. And that's what's important. I think that's what we're all about. That's why we keep growing. That's why we keep, branching off and doing other things. But it's working. It's actually working. You think about this country, you think about all the things that happen. Sports is a thing, me and you we might disagree on the teams that we support, but we love football. I bet that. I bet you we like football. I bet you we like basketball. I bet we like to see things happen. And then you bring a whole bunch of veterans together, that have the same core theme in common. And now it's like we're a family. And it's been tough to build, right? It's been really tough to build. But now that we're here, it's guys like you, Michael, that are telling our story, man. I mean it seriously. Like, you know, if it wasn't for people that have actually served, when you say the real 1%, right? Like, I take that seriously. Yeah, I get it, man. I'm gonna be completely real with you. You know, when I joined the service, people said a black man has no place in a white man's military.
Damn.
That is what I
That's
was
foul.
told. I'm
That's
I'm
foul.
being I'm being completely real. My dad, he came from the Vietnam era. My grandfather, my grandfather was an army doctor. He treated a white patient in California, and they tried to send him to the front lines in Korea. My grandfather, when I went out to see him, he was a captain. When I was a captain, I went out to see him before he passed away. One of the biggest things that he told me the story, like the whole story about what happened, how he treated someone in the ear, nose, and throat clinic. It was just like bad. I was like, man, I went to my hospital commander at Fort Riley, and they did something for him real nice, but he was just like, man, you don't understand how this country's changed. How people see the military now. He's like, I used to not trust them, but this means so much to me, right? So his grandson is like, I'm out there, like he never went to war. He got it fixed, and that was, he never got sent over there. But you got to think about the stigma that's existing in our community about the military. And my thing is, yes, it exists, but I wouldn't have known how great this country is and how great the military is if I didn't serve. Like literally, like when I was deployed, I mean, we had, shoot, man, I had, white guys, Asian guy, redneck. I had everybody, right?
Yeah.
But I tell you what, when they saw us come in to the joints, the outpost, and we're bringing them food, and we're bringing their mail, and
Yeah.
it was a brotherhood. There are people white, black, or whatever, I can call them right now. They will get in a car. If I had some problems and I needed help, they would get in their car. They drive 12 hours to come see me. And I'm the same
Absolutely.
way. There's a camaraderie that exists. It transcends race, it transcends your political views, everything. And that's the beauty of service. And I just wish that people could see that. But we're in a time now in our country where everybody's like, I want to go to this corner. I want to be divided. I don't want to be,
Right.
I don't want to, we're kind of like tribal. And
True.
in the military, man, it's one tribe.
You're
It's
right.
green for us.
Yeah,
And
you're right.
for me, it's like red, white, and blue. I'm probably the most, and I used to be that guy, man. I literally was that person, like, oh, I'm not joining this man's army. This is crazy. I was a 17, 18-year-old kid. But when you get out there and you're deployed and the dudes that are protecting you, you don't give a shit what color they are.
For real.
You just,
Yeah.
you just hope they can put rounds down range, right? To protect you. They're gonna do what they're told, right? Or you're gonna do what you're told, and they got your six. That's what you want. And if we had more of that, or if we gave that a better narrative to the youth that are out there right now, is why the MBA is a recruiting tool. If we did that, we'd show people, hey, look, you deploy because something sure. It's but that's not 99% of what the military is about. The military is not about, you know, always being in combat. That's not even how it was sold to me when I joined in 2000. My recruiter told me straight up, hey man, we're the Army, we help people. We do more helping people than we do like getting out there putting rounds down range. And I was like, really? And I looked it up. And then when I was actually doing it, like giving people MREs and supporting not just my troops, but the people in Iraq, people in where I was at in Amaria, like I was making a difference. So I just push back on people who say, hey, well, this is what the Army's about or whatever. And like I said, man, I'm not trying to take up your show and talk everything and just because I could go on and on about why I love the Army, why I love the service. Um, and I respect everybody. I respect every service, every branch, every veteran. I don't really give a shit, what your political views are or what you think. If you served, you will always have my ear. I will always have respect for someone because they are the real 1%. It's less. It's less than 1% that serve. It's less than 1%. When you really, really dive down and think about it, it's less than 1% of people who will say, hey, you know what? I swear to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. To do that for a document, to say, hey, I'm gonna lay my life down so that the other 300 million people in this country can sleep safe and sleep well at night. I love you, man. That's just the bottom line. I got a lot of love for you. So that's my take on it. It might not be the most popular one. Um, and sure, but I love the service is a great thing, and sports is the connecting tissue.
No, absolutely. I mean, it don't matter whatever your opinion is. We have free will to think what we want. So
Yeah.
you're always going to get haters. If you don't have haters, you're not doing something right. So,
Oh, I got
like,
them.
you know what I mean? Yeah, that's good then. So we got to unpack a lot of this stuff because you just went on, and that's great because you can tell you're passionate about telling your story,
Yeah.
which more veterans need to do, man. So we can change the narrative on the military.
Sure.
It's a great stepping stone. You don't have to do 25 years. Maybe you want to do 5 years. Maybe you want to do 4 years. Use it as a stepping stone. It's better than maybe getting student loans or working at Wendy's or Arby's or something that
Yes.
you got no meaning, man. You're flipping. You're going to get taken over by robots sooner than later, and you're not going to be fulfilled in life. So here
That's
nor
true.
there, you're entitled to your own opinion, and I agree with most of it. So but let's go back a little bit to
Yeah.
let's start with a deployment real quick. So when you lost your guys like that, it's a common denominator that people say, it's not unpacked. It's not talked about. You go to a ramp ceremony, everyone cries, everyone sheds a tear. We see the rifle with the Kevlar on top and the dog
Yeah.
tags, and you see these bodies and these remains sent off. But who's really who's really unpacking that information? Who's really going to get the help that they see? No, during those times, I was in 2007 to 2015. You were weak. You were a pussy if you go to sick call. You
Yep.
can't tell the doctor this stuff. We gotta get ready to SRP again. So like going back to your initial fight and battle with dealing with all that stuff while you're still deployed on a 12-month deployment, like what did you guys do? And what would you tell people that have either gone through that or yet to experience a traumatic event like that to actually unpack it and get through it together rather than not divulge anything?
You know, you got to remember it's 2007, man. You
Yeah.
know, um, my unpacking was, um, playing basketball. You know, that was the way I was able to get out any aggression, any stress, any type of feeling that any kind of if I was feeling some type of way, I just went and just played real hard. Just played basketball. But I couldn't do that anymore, man. I literally had a heart condition that just popped out of nowhere. And it was pretty serious. Um, and when I got back, I wasn't able to either. It was just go. Like you said it yourself. Hey, we're gonna reset. Guess what? It's time to we gotta, we're gonna retool this equipment, and we're going back, we're going again.
Yeah.
And you might be on Avon, within shorter than 12 months. You've
Nine
been
months,
back,
10
yeah.
months in. Yeah.
Yeah, you might be on the Avon team going back to figure it out, on the PDS, all that stuff. So it's just it was it was hard to unpack at that time. But I think what's great about today is people are realizing that um you can take a knee, and I took a knee um after 2013. I really kind of stopped running as hard as I was, with this army thing, and just started kind of trying to take care of myself and think about myself. But that time, man, that time period, that was hard.
Yeah.
People say thank you for your service all the time. They don't ask you if you're okay. They just say
You're
thank
right.
you for your service.
No,
And I'm
you're
like,
right.
that's great. You're welcome. But you know, that's it. Thank you for your service. It's the way that people are that haven't served, they say thank you. You should, and they should, right? But the human thing to do is thank you for your service, and are you all right? Are you okay? Is there something that you should be doing that you're not doing with your mental fitness, your spiritual fitness? And I don't know. I don't know if but that's a tough question because we did not
You didn't.
unpack it.
Yeah.
No,
You had
no,
another
and
mission
I
the next
watched
day or something like that. You didn't have time. Either people said they don't have time, or they didn't know how to do it, or it was the people at the top of the food chain weren't talking about it. Because yeah, I mean, we didn't. I never lost anyone directly in my unit, but our battalion did. We had people get burned in trucks. The doors melted. Someone got decapitated. What are you supposed to say about that stuff? You just, like you said, we played basketball or volleyball but we weren't like, damn, man, you believe what just happened? Like, I don't know. It's just kind of like you're all shell shook, even if you really weren't there
well
on the
how
convoy going through it. You know what I mean?
the other shell shock is you make it through the deployment. Yeah,
Right.
you actually make it. Like I literally called my dad and I was like, "Hey, man, I don't think I'm gonna make it back home. So take care of
Dang.
mom." But no, I mean, it was really like if you lose 7 guys in one day and 10 in one month, right? Right. At some point in time, you got to real think like your number's coming, right? That's just
Yeah.
reality,
It's like
right?
almost half a platoon,
Yeah,
dude.
and then I was, we weren't going out as much, but we were. Um, and the activity at the time had just kind of really picked up in the summer. So I just felt like it was a matter of time before something was going to happen, you know. Um, and then I looked at my deployment. Like there were places where I was at, and I would leave, and then 30 minutes later, it got mortared. Right, like literally, I don't know how I made it through, other than the grace of God. But you deal with that stuff, and then you realize, but you make it. Like it's a miracle, but then you make it home, right? And when you make it home within like 1 week, you find out that a senior leader has committed suicide, killed themselves. Like
Every time. And
within
yeah,
1 day of being back on the ground, I think we lost someone to an accidental shooting. Like it's just crazy stuff. Like then people just started passing away from motorcycle accidents. Remember, we went through the whole motorcycle thing, right? Now, that was
yeah.
just killing people. It was like people were just like life is so precious, man. It really is. And I just feel like um if people sat back and just really kind of thought about how precious life is, and didn't always, I mean, stuff's gonna happen, but some things are avoidable. And suicide is something that I think we can prevent as a society, you know. Harmful behaviors. Nobody wants to say the term suicide, but at the end of the day, you know, people are killing themselves, and they can make another decision. And if they feel or they've gotten to the place where they feel like they have to harm themselves, then we got to ask ourselves, what are we doing as a society? You know, are we giving them the best options? Is it is it because you couldn't afford it? No. Is it what is it? Everyone talks about people when they're gone, like, I never knew. They didn't show any. No, but did you ever ask? You know, did you ever
True.
ask? If you have a soldier that's quiet all the time, not really saying anything, you know, did you ever ask that person, hey, how are you doing, man? You okay? What's going on with you? What are you doing this weekend? You know, are you just gonna stay in the barracks and drink all night? Hey man, come. You know what? Come to this basketball game. We got this thing going on. It's off base. You can meet some people. You just never know. But if we have those type of engagement activities, I think we're going to do. That's what we're doing. That's what our organization's about. Is helping people.
So when you look back at your time in the military, did you think you were gonna stay 25 years?
Negative.
Yeah, because most
Um,
people.
you know what? I don't know. Let me stop. Let me not say that, because when I was watching those movies, I saw myself attaining rank. I saw myself getting up there. I've seen the old Audie Murphy movies. I loved like all the movies that I would watch. So I did envision myself as a kid staying. But at about the 10-year mark, I was ready to, as a matter of fact, in 2015, I was ready to get out. I was going to get out and coach basketball. And but you know what the Army does?
Promote you and move on. I need another 5 years out you.
They promoted me. They were like, "Hey, guess what? The joke's on you." And I don't know which time I had best. I don't know which rank I enjoyed the most, like captain or major, because I had a lot of great times as a captain or a major. But I think the best, my best time in the Army was when I was a second lieutenant. You
Okay.
know, and so once I had, once I made captain, I knew I was going to, stay 20 years, but I stayed 23.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's tough. But yeah, I recommend it for everyone.
So looking back on your time in, like, what did your exit strategy look like out of the military? And you just got out recently, 2023, so last year, May, I think.
Yep,
So looking back on your exit strategy, do you think you exited the military properly? Did you have a good experience with
absolutely,
TAPS? Did you have a good experience with the VA? Did you have a
absolutely.
mentor, or did you figure it out on your own? A combination of both. What did your experience look like?
So I went to the Warrior Transition Unit here in
Okay.
Colorado Springs and Fort Carson. Um, that was an experience. What I will say, what I will say to you is it's a great, if you are injured and your injury is combat related, I do believe, you should medically retire. I medically retired. I took a serious knee when I went to the WTU, because I was operational for 20 something years, and I don't need to do that anymore, right? Um, Going to that unit helped me get involved and start the transition process. Everybody tells you, hey, get it in your records, get it in your records, get it in your records. Get
For real.
everything, get
Yeah.
everything in your records. Um, I had, and I'm not trying to reveal too much, but I had like 36 medical conditions, right? That's just the wear and tear of the arm. Probably a 65-year-old man in a, not going to date myself, but in a 40 something, 40 something year old's body. I've had my foot ran over by a Humvee. I've cracked 3 ribs. I've broken bones. I've got herniated disc. I've got, mental stuff. And that's just the stuff that I can reveal on this podcast. Right.
Right.
Um, but get it in your records. Um, my transition was very smooth, right? I got paid on time by the VA. My medical stuff started, when it was supposed to. There's some delays in there that they don't tell you about. If they ever tell you that you're active when you retire, that you can still do TRICARE and your ID card works and all that, that's not true. Okay. I just had another one of my friends find out that that's not true. Once you are out, you are out. Your VA, your care doesn't work. None of that stuff works anymore. You got to go get all your stuff done through the VA. But the VA here is a great hospital here. Um, Claims, burn pit stuff, burn pit registry, do all that. The PACT Act, they got that passed. Get all that stuff done. Great organizations like Wounded Warrior Project, they're a great transition resource, right? They are a really good transition resource. Um, I like what Stop Soldier Suicide is doing to help people with their mental, um, with some of their behavioral health concerns. Travis Manion Foundation has great stuff going on. So there's definitely a whole bunch of services out there for veterans that they can utilize. Um, but we gotta. It's up to you. You
It's
know,
true.
if
Yeah, you're
if
right.
you are if you are at 18 years and you're gonna go 20, which makes sense, right? You definitely need to start your retirement plan at the 18-year mark, 2 years out. Get your job lined up, have your all that stuff, get it all straight. And then if you don't want to work, like I'm not working, you don't have to, but plan for that. You have to plan for that. So, but yeah, it's been great, man. I'm not gonna even lie to you. I love being retired. Um, but make sure you get everything that you deserve. Don't be prideful and be like, oh well, you're a sissy. You can't do this and that. Nah, if they broke you, they need to fix you, and if they can't fix you, then they need to compensate you, with disability, and that's just the way it is.
What made you have that mindset? That's a great mindset to have on transitioning out, because a lot of people, you'd be surprised. You probably know some that left it all on the table. I was
Yeah,
one of them. I didn't have 23 years. I had 8 years, but I still had a broken foot, mental, rhinitis, allergies. Hey, man, I got out. It's ironic that you got out at Fort Carson, because I was there too. And I said, man, what's a VA appointment? I said, I'm good. And like you said too, I don't look to blame anybody but myself, because I didn't do my own due diligence. I wrote all that stuff off and left it all. It took me 5.5 years, better late than never, to get to 100%.
that's
But
right.
for other people that are listening, that are still in or still contemplating, what do I need to do? What gave you that mindset to, hey, don't leave nothing on the table?
Because
Because back in
yeah,
2013, you turned the corner. Now think
yeah.
about, if you would have never turned that corner, you might have never even had this mindset. But I want to hear what took you there.
What took me there was they broke me,
There you
right?
go.
That's it. It's the bottom line is no matter what, I made the decision to serve, right? But the requirements and the sacrifice that I made to serve is, a 70-pound ruck, 15-mile ruck marches, going out the wire, sitting at the ECP. Every time I'm going out the wire, I'm calling my mom and my dad saying, hey, you know what? I'm leaving. I can't tell you where I'm going. I can't tell you what I'm doing. But if I don't see you again, I love you. Right. And take
Yeah.
care of my daughter. Right. That's like I did that 66 times. Right. I went on 66 convoy missions to go and place barriers that were 15 linear miles of concrete. Right. In an 11-month span. That's what I did. Right. So, in that process, man, I dinged my head a couple of times. I had a mortar round go off right outside my seat. That messed me up. So there's all kinds of stuff that happened to me. And that was just when I was deployed. When I was active duty, I mean, they dropped me when I didn't even get my whole officer career was in jeopardy at Fort Lewis because I fell 14 feet. Herniated both discs, got up, finished camp, had to stand up in class as a cadet to finish class, with two herniated discs. And my point to you is, yes, you chose to serve, but there's a sacrifice, right? And if they broke you, they should fix you. That's the whole point of the VA. When you go outside, I'm going to DC tomorrow, right? There's a little thing out there, right? And it's Abraham Lincoln put this together. Said, hey, we need to honor those that lay their life down or put their life at risk for us. And that's my mentality changed when I realized that, one, I have a heart condition that may never be fixed, right? I didn't ask for that, right?
No,
I
you didn't
didn't
ask for the double. You didn't ask for the double medication either, right? Double
No,
dose of meds. You know what I
and
mean?
I didn't ask for I didn't create no burn pits, right?
That's true.
I didn't make burn pits. I didn't have things in place where, you know, that put people at risk. And so the bottom line is that that's not the country's fault. I'm not saying that, I'm not blaming anyone, but what I am saying is if you can get yours because of your service, you absolutely should. Do not try to fraud anything. Don't make stuff up.
Right.
You know, like again, 36 medical conditions. That's a lot, right? I didn't even think I was that broke until I got evaluated. And so, just take your time. If sit down with your family, sit down with your provider, talk everything out, tell everybody what's wrong with you. Don't have any shame about it, and realize it's okay to talk to people and get this, macho mindset. I'm still macho. I wish somebody would. Like, I'm still in shape.
Yeah.
I can still run a 7.5 minute mile, right? That doesn't mean that I'm okay, like I'm healthy. No, like I don't do that anymore. I don't need to. I'm retired.
Right.
But um, but that doesn't mean. But if you're broke and you're hurting, and they can help you and they can compensate you for your service, absolutely you should get it. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. And not only the monetary gain, you could get other things like tax exemption, school benefits.
I just got my
You know,
registration today.
you already know, man. You already know. You get in Florida, you get the DV license plate. You're parking at the
I
airport for
just
free.
I
So when
just
you
got
move
the
down
DV
here, let's
license
go.
plate. Yep,
There you
yep,
go. You know what I mean?
yep.
So it's more things than a lot of people know, and the more you get out and dig in Google or talk to other veterans, you're like, oh, really? They offer that? Oh, really? They offer that? So, I
Yeah,
mean, they don't give you all that when you leave the military. They don't want to know. They don't want to tell you everything that you're entitled to because you got to think of it. If everyone got what they deserve, the government would be shelling out a lot more money than they are right now because a lot of people leave it on the table, man.
they
I know I
do.
did it. I know I did it too. So, I
And
mean,
they do. I know a guy who, I won't say his name, but he probably he served and he should have gotten everything that should have gotten everything. He's I think he's in his 70s. He just applied for his benefits.
It's sad, man. Think
And,
about how
and,
many
and
years I've been out for.
I know, and the one thing I would say is this: is you waited, and it's okay to do that, if but you change your mind. But the VA, it's so long, and the process can be years to
You're right.
get to 100%. And why do that when you're in the service now and you can set yourself up for success as you transition out?
Yeah, and get paid while you're still on active duty to go do your claim. I wrote it all off. Don't be
Uh,
like me.
If
Don't be
you're
like me, man.
100%, yeah. If you're 100%, I've got 100. I have 100% dental. I have dental for the rest of my life.
There you go.
I've got dental coverage for the rest of my life, and I say that to people because you don't know, like, dental coverage is important.
Heck yeah.
That is just important. And you don't know how important it is until you actually need it. So
Oh, I know it's important because before I went contracting, I had to pay about $3,000 out of pocket to go get mine fixed. So I know.
yeah,
And
it's
it's not
tough,
cheap, and
man.
nothing in the medical field is cheap. So if you're gonna get, the insurance, the dental, all that stuff adds up over time, especially if you got a spouse, if you got kids. So you're absolutely right. What
Yeah.
was it like being a dual military family with a little kid, with a daughter, with another daughter on the way in the military, looking back at your time in? I know it's no easy task, but I didn't have a family like that
Is
in the military, but
it
on the outside looking in.
On the outside looking in? So, well, one, it didn't last too long.
Okay.
Well, it didn't last. It didn't last. I mean, one of the casualties, I think, of my service was, I didn't, I ended up getting divorced, and but at the time, I mean, it was great. I mean, um, the deployment was tough because, we had to take this life that we had created together and leave that person with my mom and dad, and not knowing, you know, where we were. And what the other tough thing was, we were 5, 6, 7 miles. Like, I was at Liberty, and I think she was in the green zone. And
Oh, so
and
you
and
weren't even together.
and we weren't together.
Oh,
And
wow.
so you're not living together, you're staying in separate quarters. Um, we're trying to, talk to our kid, back home. There was a competitive nature to being dual military because we were the same branch. We were both quartermaster. So there's a lot of challenges to being dual military, but they were minor compared to some of the benefits. I mean, um, our kids have been all over the world. They've been all over the world. They've had, the military brat, lifestyle. They've had, and they've enjoyed it. They're pretty independent kids, and that's because, like, the CDC, right?
Yeah.
Like, all of my kids were in the CDC, all of them raised, like, we go to work, we pick them up, and the child development centers, did the rest, and then we took them home and everything. But so there it came at a cost, right? But um, I don't regret it. I don't regret being dual military, and I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect um, for my ex-wife, she was pretty tough. She was a tough officer, and we just but it had its challenges. Being dual military has its challenges, and but just like anything, you adapt and you overcome, and then but I definitely will say, when we deployed, she went first, and then I got over there like a day later, and man, it was just jumping. We had no time to talk to our kid. It's every now and again on Skype or whatever was out
Yeah.
during that time, but
Yeah.
it was, man, that was a tough time, and I literally, I intentionally wouldn't talk to my kid, you know, because
At
I
that
was
age,
in,
it's hard, man. I got a 7-year-old right now, and I contracted when he was a little bit younger. It's not easy, man. It sucks, dude. You can't.
yeah,
There's
and
no
I didn't,
other word to put it.
yeah, and I don't, I would intentionally not, I would, I had a picture. I never took anything with me, personal effects, any of that stuff on my missions. I was focused on coming back home. So I didn't want any distractions. Only person I talked to was my mom, my grandmother. But other than that, I rarely talked to people back home in the States because I didn't want any distractions. I just wanted to come home. And if you allow yourself emotionally to think about one thing, um, you may lose focus on the things that could keep you alive.
No, you're right. And back in that day, yeah, you're right. Skype was just popping out. That was like the
It's
best thing we had, dude.
Skype.
Skype and Facebook message, Facebook, like and now they got about a million things you could probably do and get you. Remember we used to have calling cards too, calling cards, Skype, man. But no, you've been on a wild ride, and I mean, I appreciate you coming on here, being vulnerable and open, and talking about your whole journey, and not just talking about all the good things, but the bad too. I think that's powerful, to say the least. I think on social media and on LinkedIn and on Facebook, everyone's showing their best them, right? They're not talking about the nitty gritty or the down and dirty, but when we talk about the things that we went through, like got drugged through the mud, I think we connect with a lot more people out there. Like you said, you're bringing all these people together for basketball and having them disconnect about their problems, even if it's for 2 hours, but to get around the team again, get around like-minded people. And on top of that, being veterans, like it was nothing for us to connect, even though we chatted a little bit at the military influencer conference. I think I hit you up on LinkedIn. You said anytime. It's like, like you said,
Anytime, man.
nothing but love.
Yeah. Anytime you want to talk, man. Even just like personal, man. If I, a lot of people were like, "Oh, you're the NBA commissioner. I know you're busy," and I am. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I am up 24/7 with this, but like people know me. I will spend if you call me and you have an issue or something. I am the type of person that I will stop what I'm doing to try and help you out. And if I don't know the answer, I know people that can help you. Um, and if you just want to shoot the shit and just talk about, hey man, my deployment was like this and my deployment was like that, and you remember this and you remember that, and that's just the beauty of being, in this brotherhood of being a veteran. You know, there's all kinds of stuff that we can talk about, that only 1% of this country can talk about.
You're right, but it takes someone to break that contact and make it happen. Because I used
Yes,
to be
right.
for the longest, I'd be like, damn, I wish someone. Sometimes you got to be the conduit to reach out. So, like you said earlier, if you guys know, or girls, ladies, someone that might have been the quiet type, reach out to them, because you never know. They might be waiting for you. They just don't know. They don't want to make the first move. Not everyone's, the person that breaks contact, but you got to step out of your comfort zone to make something happen, because it's about more than us. When we were in the military, like you said, it didn't matter what color you were. It never mattered for me. I know
Yeah.
for some people it hasn't been like that. I know other people have come on here and told their stories about having racism and all types of slander and all this nonsense. But for me, it doesn't matter, man. For you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're green, Chinese,
No. Yeah.
Japanese, black, white, man, it doesn't really matter, dude. You got a little bit more melanin than me, but let me get out in the sun, man. I get a little dark. It doesn't matter, dude. We're
Hey,
good to
hey,
go,
it's
man.
true. And you know what? Here in Colorado, you might, when it gets cold like this, I get really, 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 really bright. So I mean, and I've already been told that I'm like I don't look like I'm African American. You
What
know,
you albino?
no, they tell me I
No.
get told this all the time. But you're right, man. And if there's one thing I would leave you guys or leave with tonight, man, is you said something very important: comfort zone, right? Getting out of your comfort zone. And we gotta, like, it's almost like we gotta shake people, right? And
True.
that's what this basketball is doing, right? We're in your face and we're saying, hey, we can, these guys can slam a basketball, dunk a shoot the ball really well, do whatever. But if while they're doing that, it's people like me that are gonna come up to you and say, hey, what's going on, man? How are you? How can we help you? You see these guys over here? This is what they're doing, right? And see this organization over here. This is what this organization is doing, and they're here for you. They're here for you. Get out of your comfort zone. And if you're
Seriously.
not going to get out your comfort zone, then guess what? We're going to get in your face. We're going to
There you
say,
go.
hey, look, are you okay? Let me help you. Talk to me. That's what we're about, man. And I love it. And I just thank you for the platform. If you need anything
Absolutely.
from me, man, you need my platform for anything you want to use, talk to any of our folks, let me know because I'm definitely down and and I'd love to do this again as well.
Absolutely, dude. I see the sponsors. You got DirecTV, you got VA, you got Temple. I mean, so obviously people believe it. You got Parade Deck streaming. You got Andrew and Rico and all the
Yeah,
other people
Rico,
that
Rico and Andrew, man.
yeah, man.
That's another great story, man. Those guys, that's a really great story. We started out last summer, but they literally um I just love what Parade Deck is doing because
Absolutely.
they have a way to get influencers on board, and really, pound the message out. So um I like it, man. I really do.
So, are you like a darker version of Bob Knight or what? Like that's your coaching days used to be throwing them chairs or what you used to do? What
No, no.
I'm messing
If
with you.
if people when people ask me what type of coach I am or who I'm like, I say Chuck Faust.
Okay.
And Chuck Faust was my high school basketball coach. And believe me, I haven't met Bob Knight. I haven't met Coach K. I've met John Thompson Jr. I've met Larry
Okay.
Brown, Rick Barnes, Scott Drew. I have been in the presence of some great, great, great basketball minds. And Chuck Faust is the greatest basketball mind I've ever encountered.
Does
And
he
and
coach at does he my bad, I mean to cut you off. Is he coaching at Alpharetta, Georgia right now? It's Cornerstone Christian Academy, or is that
that
someone different?
that's him. That's Chuck Faust.
Okay.
That is
Now,
my that is my mentor. Chuck Faust taught me how to win,
okay.
and he helped me win, showed me how to win, gracefully, to be magnanimous in victory and defeat, be a Christian, um, and he was a winner. I mean, that guy and he didn't just win at basketball. He won at volleyball, chess. He taught me how to, play chess very well. Um, but he was definitely my mentor. And I tell people that all the time. There's no secret who I think the greatest basketball mind to me is, and that's my basketball coach.
No, I mean
And, and yeah,
if you got 1,000 wins, you're not no chump. So no
no,
matter where you
no,
at, you know what I mean.
Chuck
That's a lot of
Faust.
wins, my man.
Yeah,
Like
coaches. He is he just knows how to uh, win, but he really studied, the game, and some of the things that he would do were very simple. And you're like, why would you do that? And it's just like, well, why not?
right.
And that's just it's just as a matter of fact, when I go to Atlanta this year, we usually hook up when we get to it when I go down to Atlanta for a tournament. But yeah, he's a great coach, man.
All
Awesome
right.
coach.
Hey, well, I appreciate everything, man. I'm glad we got to get on this and spread your story. I might have to get myself a team, man, and get back on the court myself, man. I hit them
Where
threes
are
on
you
you,
at?
man.
Where's your
I'm like close to Tampa, Florida. I'm like an hour south.
McDeal's gonna have a team, I think, next year.
I might need to get out there to tryouts, man. Look like I got to start going to get that ruck. Hey, man, don't leave me open.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what I'm gonna
cool,
tell you.
man.
I can't jump, man. White man cannot jump. That is true.
That
That
is
is
not true.
most of them, man. Most of them
I
can't,
don't know
man.
about that, man. I had a doctor, 37 years old, and he was dunking with two hands, and he played for me 2 years ago.
All right,
He's
link me
still
up
he's
with him.
still
I'm
playing.
about to get my strength shoes back out and start getting on the plyometrics then, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, plyometrics. That's good
Man,
stuff.
I play high school ball, man. I know how a little something. Hey, I'm gonna tell you, don't leave me open, man. Don't leave me open. That's what I'm
That's
saying.
good.
I'm gonna hit him like a lefty, like hit him like Harden.
That's good. That's good,
Yeah, man.
man. That's good. No, I
But
really, this is great, man. I really thank you for letting me talk a little bit about,
for sure.
my story.
Anytime, man.
Yeah, not a lot of
Anytime.
people know it, and it's very therapeutic for me to try and get those things out. So I really appreciate it, man.
Nah, bro. Anytime I'm here for you, man. I'm glad we linked up. Let's link up at another time. If
Yeah,
anyone you know that wants to share their story, hey, I'm open for it, man. We can make it happen. Shout out to Andrew and Rico at Parade Deck for taking on the challenge, challenging the status quo and putting on for military influencers. So if you're a
yes,
military influencer, check up on Parade Deck, check in the military influencer conference. My man, check out Michael Meyers for the MBA Basketball Association.
that's
Tap
us.
in with a man. If you're a veteran, I'm sure he's not going to leave you on red. He's on LinkedIn. You just Google MBA. He's got a website. He's got all the information there for you guys to get connected with him. So I appreciate you coming on the show. If you guys made it this far, thanks so much. Share, check in on a friend, share some good stories, ask if they're okay. A lot of people aren't doing that nowadays. We're so connected with our phones, but at the same time, like you said earlier, they're trying to make everyone disconnected with each other. Don't let that happen to you. Don't let that happen to your friends and family. Step out of your comfort zone, challenge yourself to be a better person than you were yesterday, today, and just be the best version of yourself. They say most people don't even use 10% of their whole total capacity of their brain and their will. So let's not be in that 10%. Let's keep going and be great. So appreciate you, bro. And let's stay connected. And hope all of you guys have a blessed rest of your evening. So without further ado, y'all have a blessed one.